Hey guys, Zephyr here, and I am very happy to announce that I am doing another giveaway, and this time I will be giving away the full set of the brand new Hot Wheels Silver Series Acceleracers. But this time, you will have not one, but two chances to win. That is because I have two complete sets of these brand new Acceleracer Silver Series to give away. And as a bonus, and also just to make sure they survive shipping, I am also going to be throwing in these Hot Wheels protector cases. Here's how you can enter for your chance to win. Email zephyrprojectgiveaways@gmail.com with the subject saying giveaway entry, with the message saying your YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, or whatever platform you're seeing this on's username. Spam will be disqualified. Only one entry per person per giveaway. The first winner will be chosen at random and revealed on December 31st. This will be a two-part giveaway, with the first half of the giveaway being exclusive to the US only. This giveaway will be active from now till December 1st, with the second giveaway being opened up to the entire world and beginning on January 2026. Including the US, so if you didn't win, you will have another chance in the second giveaway. So make sure you're subscribed and following with notifications turned on, so that way you're notified when the winner is revealed. Crashouts. Most of us have had them, or have come scarily close to having one. For example, like how I'll crash out if you don't hit that subscribe button. But in all seriousness, there's no shortage on things to make people crash out, and it would seem like the Transformers aren't immune to it either. So here's a top 10 Crashouts in Transformers media. Starting the list at number 10, we're going to be getting this one out of the way. It's Tarn. To simplify Tarn, he was basically an Autobot who defected to the Decepticons and became so devoted to the cause to where he became Megatron's most loyal follower. You think Lugnut from Transformers Animated is the ultimate Megatron simp? That big fucker does not hold a candle next to Tarn. He may be a Decepticon his one and only personality trait. However, Tarn is nothing to sneeze at because he has one of the most dangerous abilities in all Transformers. This dude could pretty much disable you just by thinking about it. He was so devoted to the Decepticon cause and following Megatron to where he personally tortured and killed other Decepticons that he deemed traitorous. But of course, this story takes place in the IDW series of Transformers comics. The same series where Megatron becomes an Autobot. So imagine the crash out that Tarn had when he found out that the very bot that he dedicated his entire life to abandoned his own cause and defected to the Autobots. Was it justifiable? Not really, considering that everything Tarn's done up to that point has not been justifiable at all. And for that reason, he takes the number 10 spot. Number 9 is a little more justifiable, but a lot of people are going to have arguments about this one. Bay vs. Optimus Prime. Or I guess now, Movieverse Optimus Prime, as Rise of the Beast Prime was also pretty psychotic. Now, many arguments have been made and will continue to be made that the reason why Optimus Prime in the live-action movies is so psychotic and so trigger-happy is because he knows that if he lets any more Decepticons win, it'll be the doom of planet Earth. And he's pretty much right. He knows how dangerous fighting Megatron is from years of experience and what he's capable of, which is why he was so eager to sacrifice himself to eliminate himself and Megatron in the process. But he was not expecting Sam to do what he did, and for a short while, he thought that they were safe, up until he realized that Megatron was revived by the Allspark fragments, the very thing that was originally used to kill him in the first place. There is an excellent video out there, and I will link it in the description, that perfectly describes the forest battle scene being the exact moment that Optimus starts going batshit crazy and stays crazy for the rest of the Bayverse. Knowing that he is outnumbered and that Sam is in his presence, and if he loses, that means the Decepticons will inevitably kill Sam to get what they want. He knows that he cannot afford to lose that fight. And unfortunately, he lets his guard down for just a brief moment, giving them the opening to kill Optimus Prime. And even though he was revived with the Matrix leadership, that memory of that fight stayed with him. And he knew that if he died again, it would surely give the win to the Decepticons. So, in order to make sure that they don't win, he needed to fight even harder, which explains why he was so ruthless in Dark of the Moon and did not hesitate to take out any Decepticons, especially not Megatron. I feel like people forget that Optimus Prime has been dealing with Megatron for eons, and no other bot knows Megatron better than he does. So, he was not going to fall for that trick a second time, He was just going to eliminate Megatron right then and there while he had the chance. Okay, well, what about the last night when he gets corrupted and turned into Nemesis Prime? As much as we all want to forget that the last night was a thing, it is worth mentioning because, yeah, it does stem from deep down within Optimus Prime's psyche. As much as he does want to protect Earth and its inhabitants, he does ultimately miss his own home, and he would do anything to bring it back. And that's something that Quintessa was able to exploit and use to brainwash Optimus Prime to do her bidding. So even though he was brainwashed in this case to have a crash out, it's still a justifiable crash out because it comes from him missing home and wanting to do anything to rebuild it. Number 8 would have been a very justifiable crash out if they didn't erase all of his character growth just for the sake of making him evil in the second season. I am of course talking about Starscream from Transformers Earthspark. It is a shame that a lot of people refuse to acknowledge this show just because of something stupid, but they really did cook with Starscream in season 1 because he actually felt like a very sympathetic character. You actually felt bad for Starscream and the situations that he was put through when dealing with Megatron back then. It's no secret that Starscream is kind of Megatron's punching bag, and he's depicted that way in just about every iteration of Transformers. But what makes Earthspark stand out is that this show actually tackles with the aftermath of so many years of abuse and torment. This version of Starscream is depicted as having a justifiable resentment and hatred towards Megatron because he's the bot that abused and beat him for so many years. When stuff is going down and starting to heat up in the later half of season 1, Starscream is just kinda over it. He wants nothing to do with what's going on, and he especially wants nothing to do with Megatron or any of the other Decepticons. He just wants to be free. In fact, it's actually Megatron that instigates another fight with Starscream, leading to the cycle of abuse continuing. However, this time around, it stems from a misunderstanding and a personal bias because Megatron deems Starscream as too dangerous, so that's why he has to try and take him down. And of course, Starscream, feeding into this personal bias, is sick of Megatron's shit and just wants to defend himself. Despite being a show more geared towards kids, this iteration of Transformers deserves a lot more respect than it gets because it had the balls to deal with topics like trauma and abuse. This version of Starscream was so traumatized that he closed himself off, not being able to trust anyone else until he met Hashtag, and that was when he opened up again for the first time. The only reason this ranks number 8 is because for whatever the hell reason, they decided to erase all of his character growth from this one episode and the end of season 1, to make him the villain for season 2. Number 7 is just like Starscream, where you feel sympathetic for the character, but he did kinda do it to himself. That's because we're talking about Megatronus Prime, aka The Fallen. I mean, what is there to say about this guy? Everyone knows the story of Megatronus Prime, The Fallen. He's called The Fallen for a reason. I even made an entire video on this guy already. But what makes his crash out pretty sad and justifiable was that it wasn't really his fault. You see, in pretty much every depiction of Megatronus Prime becoming the Fallen, it all seems to tell the same story, where he accidentally, or sometimes not so accidentally, kills his lover, Solus Prime, using the gun that she made for him, the Requiem Blaster. And the reason why he killed her in accident was because she wanted to destroy the Requiem Blaster because it was too powerful and too dangerous to exist. And it was in a fight where she was trying to retrieve and take the Requiem Blaster from Megatronus where he accidentally shoots and kills her, making him go mad. What makes Megatronus' story so sad is that it never truly seems to be his fault. You see, there are versions of the story where he is corrupted by Unicron himself as he used the weapon to destroy Unicron. But there are versions of the story where he is persuaded by Leech Maximo into having a strong distrust of the other primes. After this act, Megatronus Prime essentially gets cast out of being a prime and he goes mad, which is why he becomes the Fallen Prime. And that's why he essentially becomes the first Decepticon, and he calls himself the Fallen. Speaking of Fallen Primes, we are going back to Dark of the Moon because we are going to be talking about Bayverse's version of Sentinel Prime. Out of every iteration of Sentinel Prime that we've gotten so far, this is still my favorite, because this version of Sentinel doesn't feel like an asshole. He does asshole things, but his motives are, for the most part, good. It's just the way he goes about carrying out his motives that are, well, pretty bad. You see, just like Optimus, this Sentinel Prime wants nothing more than what's best for Cybertron. You see, every Sentinel Prime is depicted as a traitor to the Autobots, but what makes this one stand out is having an actual valid reason for doing so. You see, he knew that the Autobots were losing and that there was no winning against the Decepticons, so he got desperate. In an attempt to end the fighting and to save whatever's left of Cybertron, he made a deal with Megatron. And the only reason he was even able to make a deal with Megatron was because he met him on common ground. They both ultimately want what's best for Cybertron. It was all out of pure desperation. At that point, he didn't care what plan Megatron cooked up so long as it meant the chance of saving his planet. Next up at number 5, some will argue that this really should be number 1. Of course, one of the most justifiable crash outs is D16 becoming Megatron. Now, of course, because Megatron is one of the most iconic villains in history, he has many different versions of his backstory. But with Transformers 1, we not only have a really good version of his origin story, we might actually have a brand new definitive version of his origin story. You see, Orion Pax starts out life as, well, a minor bot. He doesn't know anything else, and for the most part, he's always just been content with that, but his best friend, Orion Pax, which later goes on to become his arch-nemesis Optimus Prime, well, he gets him into a lot of trouble and a lot of wacky hijinks. And because of this, his entire world gets shattered right before his very own optics. And everything that he knew once before is revealed to be one big lie. And that's because he finds out in the most traumatizing way that all of his idols are either dead or it's the reason why the other idols are dead. And while it is understandable why he would want to take action and kill the one responsible for all of this, the way he goes about it is not so justifiable because he starts to blame people who just genuinely want to help him and who are just as shocked and surprised as he is. You see, the reason why him and Optimus Prime become mortal enemies is because he essentially blames Orion Pax for everything. And while yes, some of the criticisms may be valid because Orion Pax does have a history of getting D16 into trouble, blaming him for being the reason as to why everything is so fucky is just not valid at all. Because even if D16 and Orion Pax never left the mines and they were perfectly happy and content with their lives, who's to say that another pair of bots wouldn't have accidentally stumbled upon the cave and revealed that Sentinel's a traitor? D16 would still find a way to blame all of it on Orion Pax because it's just in his nature. D16 is a bot of resentment and hatred, and it's something that he's always had within him, which is what allowed him to become Megatron. All the hatred grew from a stem of feeling betrayed. He felt betrayed by Optimus/Orion because he was his best friend, and he gained the Matrix leadership, becoming the very thing that he swore to destroy. And he had a very strong hatred of the Primes, thanks to Sentinel tainting the image of the Primes. Number 4 is a really sad backstory for a character that might shock you. That's because we're talking about Shockwave. It's kind of ironic because one of the coldest and most calculating Transformers of them all actually has a really tragic backstory explaining as to why he's like this. Did you know that Shockwave did not used to look like this at all, and he used to look a lot like a normal Transformer? As a matter of fact, Shockwave was actually a senator on Cybertron. Well, as it would turn out, he wasn't the most respected senator, as he actually had some opponents who had it out for him, and they tortured him and turned him into the Shockwave that we know today, and pretty much removed all emotions from him. It's because of this that Shockwave will be the closest thing to a traditional robot in Transformers because he is literally incapable of feeling emotions. And it's what makes him especially dangerous because he isn't capable of feeling things like empathy and guilt. And since he's a scientist, he thinks emotions are a waste of time anyway because he prefers to think logically. So while Shockwave is literally incapable of having a crash out because he's incapable of having feelings, there's an argument to be made that he deserves a crash out because of what was done to him. But number 3, if you want to talk about a very well-deserved crash out because of all the horrible things that were done to them, we're going to be looking into RC. Just like everyone on this list so far, RC is another character who suffered through a lot of bullshit. But we're going to be exploring the IDW version of RC because, just like Shockwave, she has also been captured, experimented on, and basically tortured. As a matter of fact, this particular storyline was very controversial as it was one of the very first instances of Transformers exploring topics like transitioning genders. Couple that with the fact that this storyline came out in the early 2000s where the world wasn't exactly as LGBT friendly as they are today, it spelled a recipe for disaster. That's because during a battle, RC was captured and she was brutally experimented on and tortured and forced to become a female Transformer. This is something that would severely scar RC and make her border on going insane. This also led to one of the biggest crashouts in Transformers history because it led to RC becoming very trigger happy as she was hell-bent on getting revenge for the ones responsible, and was willing to put down anyone who got in her way. But we still aren't done because now we move on to number 2, Soundwave. Just as cold and calculating as Shockwave, however, unlike Shockwave, he does have feelings, because he cares for his cassette bots. We know from previous Transformers continuities that Soundwave loves his cassette bots and he takes very good care of them, but thanks to the new Skybound comics, we now know that messing with his cassette bots is a very fast way to piss him off. He doesn't care which faction you belong to. If he finds out that you messed with one of his minions, hoo boy, it is on sight. And that's because he will make damn sure that you never do it again. Finally, we've made it to number 1. And number 1 is no particular Transformer. It's actually the Transformer brand itself, and it's actually us, the fans. At the end of the day, we are the ones who have the biggest crash outs because we love and care for this franchise so much, which is why it hurts whenever they do stuff like this. And due to inflation causing for price increases and now the tariffs causing the price increases to go up even higher, a lot of Transformers fans are being priced out of their hobby. And it's really sad. And as time goes on, things only just seem to be getting worse, which makes things look really bleak for Transformers fans. Now, yeah, this is just a sign of the economy being bad, and the economy can be fixed, but unfortunately, this seems to be irreversible. I do not see the prices of these items ever going back down, since Hasbro knows that they could charge these prices and get away with it. And the reason why many of us Transformers fans are crashing out is because we will never truly know how much of this is just corporate greed disguised as them trying to meet demands, or them actually trying to meet demands. But now, as I close off the video, I want you to sound off in the comments on whether or not you agree with some of the picks in this list. And while you're at it, be sure to like the video, and most importantly, subscribe as it greatly helps out the channel. And as always, thank you for watching.